Hello and welcome to our Cornerstone practice lecture, I guess, for day 2. We're going to get started here by making sure we're clicking on our Cornerstone tutorial. We'll let that open up. So we want to make sure we're using the tutorial. If we just use the Cornerstone, there's no information entered in there, so it's just an empty shell, so it's not going to be very useful to us. So we need to make sure we're using this tutorial. So when we come up with our login field, we can go to this drop-down menu, and you can scroll down to Cornerstone, and the password is CS. So C as in corner, S as in stone. Then we can press OK, and then it'll take us to this screen. So I'm sure you remember from our first day's lecture about this, that this is just kind of like the loading screen. We need to select one of the various windows to open up. So what we are going to start off with today is creating a new client, so we can do that in our patient clipboard. So we can open the patient clipboard by, I see you can't see it on the thing here. How can I do this to make it so you can see? Well, maybe I'll just prop it up a little bit. You can go to the patient clipboard by clicking on the icon here, or you can go to the activities drop-down menu and go to patient clipboard. Either way, that'll open up the patient clipboard, which is where we'll input a new client. So remember, anytime we're putting in a new client, we want to make sure that we've searched for the client to see if they exist in the system already. Sometimes clients forget that they've been to our hospital before, so we want to make sure that they aren't in there already before entering a new one. So I'm going to go up here to my client ID box in the corner, so up here, and I can either double click or press F2 with my cursor in there, and it'll bring up this search page. So, ring, 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 ring. Oh, we answer the phone. Hello, thanks for calling Robertson Animal Hospital. This is Laura speaking. How can I help you? Oh, hello, new client named Sarah Simon. Yes, I can create a new account for you. So let's search first. Her name is Sarah Simon. So I'm going to search by last name, Simon. I want to make sure I'm including actives here, so that if a client has been inactivated, but they've been here before, we can just reactivate their account. But in this case, you can see that nobody is showing up when we search. So I can go ahead and click the new button to make a new client. So the system auto-generates a client ID based on the next available number. So I don't need to do anything in this section, except for press tab. If I start clicking down here to try to fill these things in, you'll notice that all my clicks aren't doing anything. I can't move the cursor down. And I find lots of people at this point start to panic. Oh no, it's not working. I don't know what to do. Press tab. As soon as you press tab, it locks in this client ID number, and you can go ahead and click on any of these things now. Okay. So thanks for calling, Sarah. Let's just get a little bit of information from you. So what is your preferred title? Miss, or Mrs., Mr., Mrs., Ms., Doctor, anything like that? And she says she prefers Ms. Her first name is Sarah with an H, and her last name is Simon. She is a pet owner and she is a client, so I'll leave those things there. I ask her, what's your address? And she says it's 789 Bannatyne Avenue. Oops. Oh shoot, what did I do? Bannatyne Avenue. Okay. And I say to her, is that in Winnipeg? She says yes. So I can type Winnipeg there. And this isn't really awesome because it has the American states in here too. So you have to scroll through a lot. But we'll put Manitoba there as her province. And postal code R3J7T9. R3J179. We could get an email address if we were working at a hospital that had email contact with clients, but I'm not going to bother in this case. And then for phones, we do want to enter a phone. We can just double click in that area and it brings up our phone information. So her home phone number is 204-668-7742. And I can use the drop-down menu to put home. And then I can press OK and it'll save it. And you see that that's actually assigned as the primary phone number. So I can double click. She also has a cell phone she'd like to have on file. So 204-995-7742, and that's her cell phone. And she tells me, you know what, cell's actually the better way to get a hold of me. So I can go ahead and click primary phone number for that one. And then that one's listed as the primary. Okay, so we can change that if need be down the line. But for right now, she's saying that her cellular is the best way to get a hold of her. So next, we've completed everything in this section that we want to complete. So we can move over to the prompts and notes. So in this section, we're going to need to update the client created by. We can just put our initials, CS. Sometimes people would like to have other information on file, like maybe a driver's license number, or their employer, or if they have a doctor they prefer to see. I'm not going to enter anything like that at this point, though. So referrals, I asked her if she was referred by anybody, and she says, you know what, my friend Greg Johnson was just here, and he said it was a wonderful experience. So I said, oh, great. So I can double click on there to search for Greg Johnson. So I've typed Johnson into the last name, and I just press tab. And then I've searched here, Greg Johnson. Yeah, perfect. So I can select that, and it puts it in as who referred her. And then, there's my mouse. And then for AR information, we have some monthly charges here. She's not going to be charged any. I can unclick those. She is not tax exempt. Not a lot of people are. And we will accept cash and credit card from her. So I've got that there. And we'll give her a preferred discount. Why not? What the heck? So you can have different discounts in here that will like apply automatically to the client. These are just some examples of ones that are set up. Your hospital might have different ones, like maybe there's like a rescue group that you see. You might have the rescue discount in there or something like that. So we're just getting some practice with using these discounts. So that's why we're selecting one here. And then same with the monthly charges. So monthly charges are things that might happen if they were billing, like if they were an AR client, accounts receivable. So that means that they have outstanding accounts. Will we charge them a financing charge or a billing charge? I just uncheck those just so we can get a bit of practice in that area too. All right, so now we've got Sarah Simon entered in. So I can highlight her account here and I can hit select and it'll open up her patient clipboard. But you can see there's not a heck of a lot else in here. So it's pretty empty right now. One thing we might want to do is add a patient. So who's coming in to see us today, Sarah? And Sarah says, it's my dog Pontiac. So let's enter Pontiac. You can see up here in the patient list, I'm going to right click and hit new. I think you can also double click and it'll open up. Again, same like when we were doing the client one. If we don't press tab, we're not going to be able to enter anything over here. One thing that happens sometimes too is people start to just type and you'll see that it's now overridden my ID number. If you realize that's what you've done, just hit cancel. Do you want to save changes? Hit no and start again. So no, you can't double click. You have to right click and hit new. So now it's given me a new client ID. I can press tab and I'll be able to enter the info. So let's see, Pontiac is the name of the pet. It is an active, it is a family pet. So I can say, Sarah, could you tell me please, Pontiac, is Pontiac a male or a female? She'll say, oh, he's a boy. I say, has he been neutered? And she'll say, yes. So he's a male neutered dog. What about birthday? Do you know Pontiac's birthday? She says, no, I don't know his actual birthday, but I know he's 9 years old. All right, so I can put that in. It'll just auto-generate a birthday that's 9 years ago. if we do know the actual birthday, we can put it in there. And Pontiac is a dog, so species is canine. I say, and what breed is Pontiac? She says he's a shepherd cross. So there is a drop-down menu here, and you can kind of scroll through. There is an entry for shepherd mix, so I'm going to pick that one. And what color is Pontiac, Sarah? Oh, he's brown and black. So I can use the drop-down menu. I can also just type brown/black, and it'll take me to the area where that is, brown/black. And does he have any special markings? Maybe he's got a white right front paw. Alrighty, what else? So, we can leave all this stuff here. We can't put in a weight, obviously, right now, because the dog's not even in the hospital. But one thing we can put in is a microchip number if she knows it. And what do you know? She does. So it's 949, followed by 6 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then 23159. Registration. That's where I put tattoo info. BC 12 is his tattoo. And then that's looking pretty good. So letter reminders, I'm just gonna skip this section for now. I'm also gonna skip callbacks. So letter reminders are where we'd put things like vaccine reminders. Callbacks are like care call reminders. So if we want to call a client after surgery or after starting a medication or something, those info goes in here. I do want to look at my prompts and notes section though. So for behavior or temperament, Sarah lets me know that Pontiac is kind of sometimes aggressive at the clinic. So she thinks that we should muzzle him. So I'm going to put use muzzle under the temperament. So now whenever I look at this dog's file, I'll see that we should use a muzzle with him. And so I'm forewarned that this dog can be a little bit aggressive. I also can put in like other alerts here. So if the dog is allergic to a medication, if it's like a cat, this is more particular for, but if it's indoor and outdoor, if there's a medical alert, maybe they have a condition that we want to put in there, like maybe they're diabetic, a non-medical alert, so for anything else, if they need a special diet, their temperament, and then let's put in a vaccine reaction for Pontiac. So Pontiac had a rabies reaction in 2016. So I can put that info in there as well. So before I do any vaccines for this dog, or before the vet does, they'll be able to look at the file and see, oh, they had a rabies reaction. We probably shouldn't give rabies again, or figure out a different plan. And then this last tab, this referrals tab, is for doctors that the animal's been referred to. So we don't need to do anything in this section right now. And then one last thing we'll do before we exit out of the patient file here is that we're going to add a photo. So we can do that right up here in this blank white square is where we'll add the photo. So I can right click in that area, I can select capture, and I can select file. I think this Twain, it's like an automatic kind of like you take the picture and it uploads, but we're not going to do that. We're selecting from a file. So if I had taken a photo of Pontiac while Pontiac was in the hospital, I could upload that file from the camera to my computer and I could put that in. I'm just going to go to, oh, I was like, do I have pictures in here? I didn't think so. Really? No photos. Okay. Where was I that I saw pictures? Okay. I'm just going to go back. Come on, sorry. Okay, so I guess they've got some illustrations in here, so you can pick some. You could also just download a picture from the internet if you'd like. So I'm just gonna put like one of these horse hooves, just to show you how we do it. So we select the file that we want, and then it shows up in here as the picture. So at this point now, I can press OK, and it will save my pet. Now, if you just pressed OK, and now it's brought you back to your patient clipboard, and you see, oh my God, I just spent all that time entering my patient. Where is Pontiac? How come he didn't show up? I'm panicking. I can't believe it. I did all this work for nothing. Nope, you didn't. Relax, take a deep breath, go over to the client area, right click, and hit refresh. Pontiac, there he is. So before you panic that something has disappeared, always refresh your screen. You got to just make a habit of refreshing regularly because things will not, I guess, populate in here until you've done that refresh. Okay, so we can see here now I've got Pontiac in my patient list, and here in the patient information section is where I find that information. So of course we're missing a weight. Pontiac hasn't been in clinic yet. No reminders. Oh, we got to do something about that. Vaccine reaction. Okay, yeah, that's where I put that in. And temperament. Use a muzzle. So I've got those alerts. I can also click here. It gives me the patient information about the animal. And right here is our reminders section. So you can see we don't have any reminders right now, but we want some because Sarah Simon lets me know that he's actually due for his distemper booster in June next year. So I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna select here the reminders section. If you can't remember which one is reminders, you can just hover on them and it'll tell you what it is. So reminders. You can right click and hit update and it'll bring you this screen here. So it shows you your client, it gives you all this information, and we're going to put in a letter reminder. A letter reminder is used for things like vaccines, etc., because you can send it out as a little postcard to remind them. So I'm going to click here on this first line, and I'm going to look for the item ID. The item ID is the thing that the animal is due for. So I can press F2 or I can double click, and it'll bring up my search screen here. I would like to search by description. So double check on that. If item ID is selected, you're searching by the number that they come up with. But like, who the heck is ever going to remember the item number? So just go ahead and search by the description. And we're looking for DA2P/CPV booster. Okay. And then I can select that and it'll populate it in here. So when is it due? I can double click here and it'll bring up a little calendar for me. And I can skip through. So she told me it's due June 15th. So June 15th, I can select in the calendar and I can press OK. And then staff ID, I put in my initials there, which are CS in this case, since we're using the Cornerstone tutorial. If you're using Cornerstone in the clinic, it'll probably be your own initials. And then if you press tab here, it'll populate that Cornerstone staff name and take you to the next line. So if there were other vaccines that the animal is due for, I can put more in here, but looks like Pontiac's just due for the one. So I'll go ahead and hit OK. And you see now that it shows up under our reminders tab. All right, so on your daily sheets, your daily practice sheets, it'll ask you to record the client and the patient ID. So the client ID number is right here, 174 in my case. It might be a different number for you on yours, and that's okay. And then if I want to know my patient ID number, I can go to the patient list and I can select whichever patient I'm interested in. So if they have multiple patients, you want to make sure you're picking the right one. And then you can go to, the little puppy face, and that gives you the patient information. And the ID number shows up right here, 280. All right, so now that I've got everything entered for Sarah, Sarah would like to schedule an appointment today for Pontiac to come in. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my appointment scheduler, and that is located right, let me move this up so you can see right here, this 1-2 icon. If I hover on it, it says schedule for today. So I can use that icon to open that up. I could also go to activities, appointment schedule, scheduler for today. So I could do that as well. I'm going to click the icon this time. Oh, so I'm recording this on like a Sunday. So it says that there's no hours. So I'm just going to skip to tomorrow and we'll do this tomorrow. So let's see. I asked her if she has a specific doctor she'd like to see. She says she doesn't really care. Let's pretend that this is like fairly booked up. So I look and see, it looks like Dr. Carson has some availability at 4:10 today. So I can just scroll down here to 4:10. So I can highlight the appointment slot that I want, and then I can either right click and hit schedule, or over here on the side I can press schedule. And that'll open up my new appointment window. So client ID, if you happen to have written it down and know it, you could just enter it in here. But maybe you didn't think to do that and you have a poor memory like me. Guess what? We can do a search. So we can double click or we can press F2 and it'll bring up my search list. And coincidentally, since I just was using Sarah Simon's patient clipboard, it has her already on there. I don't even have to search. I can just highlight and press select. And then you can see the patient ID again is highlighted. I won't be able to click and do anything until I've pressed tab to get out of there. And that's going to populate that pet's information and it's going to bring up this alert window. This alert is going to give me information I might need when booking an appointment for this dog. So if I see temperament, use a muzzle, that makes me think this dog might be a little bit aggressive. I don't want to schedule a dog that's possibly aggressive at a time when I don't have enough staff. So little alerts like this can be really useful in making decisions about when we're going to schedule the patient. So I'm going to press OK to release those. And let's see. I'm not going to bother with it confirmed. So primary, this dog is injured. Pontiac has a broken nail. So I'm just going to scroll down here. Oh, where is it? There we go. Exam sick. Remind owner, this is a pop-up that came up with the exam sick. Remind owner to please fast the pet just in case the doctor recommends blood tests. It's a broken nail. I'm not going to recommend that. So anyways, the exam for the sick pet now I have selected as my primary reason that the animal's coming in. I can put a secondary reason and I'm going to put broken nail. So I need my, where is it here? So yeah, it's Dr. Carson. So time units, the exam sick has auto-populated 20, but I know it's a broken nail. I know it's going to need some treatment. So I can increase the appointment length if I feel like it's necessary for this appointment. So I made it 30 minutes instead of the automatic 20 that Cornerstone brings up for a sick patient. And then, so prefix is just where you put your initials. It's just who booked the appointment. And then I can put some information in the notes section. So the information I'm going to put is maybe 5 minutes late. She says she's not sure she can get there right at 4:10. So, okay, so I put that in, maybe 5 minutes late. Another thing that we can do here is if she lets me know that there's something that she needs to pick up while she's on the phone with me, I can put those things down here in this appointment items section. So she tells me, you know, she's heard good things about that TD food and she'd like to pick some up while she's here. Great. So I can double click in there to bring up my search field and I can look up TD. I just typed a T and it came up already. So it's her first time trying it with the dog. She just wants the smallest bag. So a TD 5-pound bag. I can highlight that and select it. And you'll see it puts it into this appointment items section. That means I can click this box, transfer invoice items to the patient visit list now. That means that these things are going to show up on our patient visit list. So we can see right away that, oh yeah, we need to get this food ready for her while she's in clinic. Okay. So that's what this section is used for, that appointment items. And then I can hit OK and it'll save my appointment. So now on the screen here, on my scheduled screen, I can hover on the appointment to get more information. So if I just look at it and I know my color codes, I know this pink means the animal's sick, I know that it's an animal named Pontiac, and I know that the person might be 5 minutes late. But if I want more information about that, I can hover. I can see that this is a sick exam for a broken nail. I can see the best phone number to reach the client at. I can see the pet's name and breed, the doctor they're seeing, and I can see that 5 minutes late note. All right. So, a little while later, Sarah Simon calls back. She says, "Hi, I know, I'm so sorry, I just booked an appointment for Pontiac, but I can't remember. What time is the appointment?" So in this case, obviously, it's really easy to see it's at 4:10 because we only have that one appointment on the schedule, so it's not really difficult to determine where that is. But let's pretend that it was an appointment that was booked like months ahead, and the client was like, "Oh, I don't remember. What time was my appointment at?" I can look that up in a couple ways. So one thing I can do is I can locate. So if I press this locate, the locate button is over on the side here. I forgot you can't see that section. So locate. So I'm going to press the locate button. It brings up my locate screen. I can double click, or press F2 and it brings up my search section. I can search for Sarah Simon, select, and it shows me when the appointment is. It's on the 14th at 4:10 p.m. Perfect. Okay, I can also press go to and it'll take me directly to that appointment. So if the client needed to change the appointment or something, we could do that. Another way I can tell when where the patient has an appointment scheduled, I'm going to go to up here, window, and I'm going to go back to the patient clipboard. I can also see in here, I'm just going to refresh my screen real quick. So I'm right clicking in the client area and I'm pressing refresh. I can also see where she has new appointments coming up by hovering on the schedule for today button. So Pontiac has an appointment at 4:10. I can also see it on the patient side. Appointment at 4:10 for Pontiac. Okay. So there's a couple different ways we can see what time the appointment is scheduled at. And one might be more convenient than the other if you're already in a particular screen. All right, so Sarah Simon says, "Okay, thank you, I'll see you at 4:10. And then a little while later, Sarah Simons calls back again. So I'm just going to flip back now to my schedule for today. So to switch between screens, I'm just going window and then I'm just picking the screen that I want. Okay. So now I'm back in my appointment scheduler. And so Sarah's called back and she says, "You know what? 4:10, I'm just not going to be able to get there in time. Is there any way I can move the appointment to 5 o'clock? Can I just come for 5? I said, "Yes. But you know what?" Again, pretend with me here. Let's use our imaginations. Sorry. Dr. Carson's booked up the whole rest of the day, though. So I won't be able to schedule you with Dr. Carson. How do you feel about seeing Dr. Jones? Because Dr. Jones has an availability at 5 o'clock. And again, just play along with me here, please, because obviously there's nothing scheduled. And she says, "Yes, that works. No problem at all." So what I can do to move the appointment is I can click here, I can right click, and I can press move. Or I can highlight the appointment, I can head over here, and I can hit move. So either one will work. I'm going to do the right click, move, and then I just select the appointment slot I want to put it at. So would you like to move the appointment to 5 p.m.? Yes. This pop-up is letting you know that you're switching the doctor. So it's no longer going to be Carson, it's going to be Jones. Do you want to continue? Yes, I do. Okay, so now I've got Sarah scheduled for 5 o'clock, and she does not call back again, so this appointment definitely works for her. So 5 o'clock rolls around, and in walks Sarah Simon with Pontiac. So I want to check the patient in now, so that everyone knows if they're looking at the computer that Pontiac is in the clinic. And in order to do that, I'm going to right-click on the appointment, and I'm going to press check in. Or I can highlight the appointment, go over here, and press check in. I personally like to use the right click. I just think it's a little bit more efficient. Sorry, it's like hard to see everything with my setup here. Okay, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to press check in. So this is my check-in screen. Let's have a look through here, the different things that we might need to do. So we can see all her information up here. It might be a good time at this point to confirm those things. We did just put it in though, so the likelihood of her having moved in the last like 3 hours is probably pretty slim. I can take out this additional note here that she might be 5 minutes late because that doesn't apply anymore. But what I can do is I can add an alert note. An alert note is a note that will pop up anytime we select this patient or do things with this patient, and it'll give us some information, and it'll only last for this appointment. So I can use this for little bits of information that are specific to today's appointment. So for instance, when Sarah walked in with Pontiac, she just had him with voice control. She didn't bother having him on a leash. So she just said, Pontiac, come, Pontiac, heel, Pontiac, sit. And the dog followed along and listened, which is great. But we cannot rely on dogs to be, 100% great listeners in the waiting room at the vet clinic, because other animals may or may not come in. The animal might, lose their minds and not listen to commands anymore, and then maybe even be on the attack. We do not want that. We want all animals under the control of a leash or a kennel while they're in hospital. So I say to her, oh, Sarah, I see you didn't have a leash for Pontiac. I'll bring one up from our back treatment area for you to borrow. So I'm going to put owner borrowed red leash. So that will remind me to get that leash back before she heads out for the day. All right, so I can also, so I've added an alert note now. I can also attach documents. So if there's things in here that I may need to have printed during the appointment, I can put them here and they'll print for me right now. So you can just go into the document section, document ID. I can press F2 or double click and it'll bring up my search field. So today, if you type Wilson, space dash space, there's a whole bunch of them here and some of them are in Spanish. We're gonna scroll down for consent for treatment and or admission. Okay. So in this case, we know that we're going to need to do probably some kind of treatment with this guy. So I'm just going to go ahead and get a consent form printed so it's ready to go when we need it. So I can select that and it'll populate in here in my documents section. So this is where I'll put things that I need during the appointment. So maybe it's a consent form, maybe it's, I don't know, mostly it's consent forms. All right. And then our last thing that we're going to do in our check-in is we're going to print a travel sheet. So that's really easy to do. We just press this travel sheet button and we select the one we want to use. So today, let's go with in-clinic procedure. Sure, why not? So you can select whichever one, like in our case, in our practice notes, it tells you which one to select. We'll just select the one that's specific for what's happening today. So if the animal's in for vaccines, we do wellness. If they're in for surgery, we do surgery. If they're like in for something outpatient, we could put that, okay? If they're nutritional things, whatever. So there's lots of different options. I'm gonna go with an in-clinic procedure though. And then you would hit print if you are like in the animal hospital. I'll hit preview just to show you what a travel sheet looks like. So travel sheets are little kind of pieces of paper that have all of the possible charges that might be incurred during the visit. So you can see this in-clinic procedures has a whole list of different things that might happen. The doctor can check off whichever ones they do. And then you can use that to create the bill. So if you're not sure if you've selected the right one, you can always preview it to look and see. And then we'd hit print to print it. I'm not hooked up to a printer at this point, so I'm just going to hit close. And also this is like, a pretend scenario, so I'm not going to actually do it. All right, and that's everything I want to do in this section. Since that patient is an outpatient, I don't need to specify wards or cages. That's only if we're admitting a patient into the hospital, which we're not doing today. All right, so I'm going to hit check in. It's going to confirm the staff ID for the document, and yes, it is Dr. Jones, so I'll hit OK. It's going to bring up that consent for treatment, and you see that it auto-populates with the pet's name. And then when this is printed, the client's going to be able to read over it and then sign. Okay. So I'm just going to hit OK for now. I'm not going to bother printing it, although in the hospital you would. No, I don't want to print here. All right, so how do I know if my patient's been checked in? Well, I can hover over the patient, and you see how the second line says checked in? That's one way to know. I can also press F3. F3 brings up my census list, and it shows me who is checked in and who isn't. So right now I can see that Pontiac is checked in to see Dr. Jones. I can see what they're in for, the broken nail. I can see a little bit of information about them. So Pontiac is in the hospital. I can also see here, this is their like patient visit lists. So I could see that they have patient stuff going on with these guys, okay? All right, so I can just close this. I can also, I'm gonna go to Window and I'm gonna switch to the patient clipboard. I can also see in here if the animal is checked in by this like little check-in tab. I can see that they are checked in and that there's notes here. Okay, so that's one way to check as well. So those 3 ways to see if the animal is checked into the hospital. Okay, so now the doctor does a little exam on Pontiac and sees, sorry, I'm moving around my screen here. The doctor does an exam and sees that yes, in fact, this nail is broken. So the doctor says, we're gonna need to trim up these nails, we're gonna need to fix this broken one, and we're gonna need to do a bandage. And they say, hello, thank you, helpful VOA. Could you please do an estimate for me for this? And you'll say, of course, because you love being so helpful. So how do we make an estimate for a client? So there's a couple different ways we can do this. We can make sure that our patient is selected. So Pontiac is selected. And I can, I think this is, yes, this is the estimate button here. So it's like a piece of paper with a pencil beside it. So we can go to this section, we can right click and we can press new. Or we can go up here to the selection menu. We can click this estimate button up here. I didn't mean to, sorry, I just wanted to show you it. If you hover, it says estimate. We can also go activities and estimate. So there's quite a few different ways that we can do this. As always, honestly, in Cornerstone. So I want to do an estimate for this client. I can press tab and it'll populate Sarah Simon. And now I see Pontiac is there too. I can press tab. I don't need to fill in an estimate number. There we go. But I would like to put a description. So I'll put broken nail repair. The estimate number will just be automatically generated by the system, so I don't even really care about that, but I do care about the description so that when I'm looking at these, I'll be able to see what estimate it is. And then I can press tab and it'll take me down here to my item section. So estimates are basically, we want to put in all the things that the doctor wants to do during this visit. We want to make sure that the charges are as accurate as we can so that the client has a really good idea about what their costs will be at the end of today's visit. We can use estimates to put in a range of prices if the doctor isn't sure what the charges will be. Sometimes you just don't know until you get in there and start working on the patient. So it might be more extensive than it appears initially, etc. So we can give a range. We can also have optional services on there. So we can have the possibility of 0 or 1 or 2 or 5 or whatever. So let's put this together. So estimate, I can double click in this item ID or I can press F2 and it'll bring me to my search screen. So I want to put in an exam. And since this is a new patient and it has a situation going on, I'm going to select the comprehensive exam. And I'm going to hit select. So the doctor is going to do the exam. So the low quantity is 1. They're not going to do multiple exams, so the high quantity is 1. And I'm not going to change the price on that because that's a pretty consistent price for this exam. And I'll put in my staff ID, which is CS. If I remember to do it on this first line, I'm not going to have to do it for any other lines because it'll auto-populate for me. If I forget, I'm going to have to go back and put it into every single line manually. So try to remember on the first time to do that one. And then you can just tab through and it'll take you to your next item number. So again, I can double click or I can press F2 and it'll bring up my search. And we're going to do a nail trim. So nail trim is selected. Again, we're doing the nail trim. we're not going to do multiple nail trims. So I can leave my low and high quantities as 1, and I'm not going to change the price on those. And you can see that my CS populated automatically. So now I'm going to go to line 3 here. Whoops. I'm going to go to line 3. I'm going to double click. It'll bring up my search item. So after we trim off that broken nail, we're going to place a bandage. So I just searched bandage, and I want to select bandage application. So there's 2 different ones. There's a $20 and a $100. So I say to the doctor, which bandage application do you want to use? There's a $20 and a $100. And they say, oh geez, I'm not sure. Let's go with the 20, but can we make the high end of it 40? Yeah, no problem. Or sorry, 45. So yes, no problem, we can do that. So bandage application, yes, we need the bandage. So low and high quantity is 1. The low price is $20. The doctor says it's not going to be 100. That's ridiculous. But put in 45. It might be as high as 45. So no problem. I can do that. So now I have a low price estimate of 20, a high price estimate of 45. And then one last thing. I can press F2 or double click. I want to put an Elizabethan collar on here. So it's a pretty big dog. So I'm going to go with the 30-inch. And I'm going to press select. And I'm going to put 0. This is an optional thing. Maybe Sarah already has a collar for Pontiac at home, so she might not need to buy one. So I'll put 0 as the low quantity. So if she doesn't need the e-collar, I don't need to worry about it. If she does need the e-collar, then the cost is for 1. So you can see now that my low price is 0. That's because the low quantity is 0. And then the high price is 17 because that's the regular price for one of these. Okay, and then I can just tab through. So I can double check with the doctor at this point. So I've got the comprehensive exam, nail trim, bandage application, $20 to $45, and I put an e-collar on there as optional in case the client already has one. Doctor says, "Okay, that's awesome. You're doing great." So you can press OK. And then it'll bring you up to this screen, the Save Estimate screen. The doctor typically isn't going to want this estimate to last for a really long time. So usually estimates have an expiry date. So if you haven't booked the procedure before that expiry date, we can't guarantee that the prices are going to be the same. So often we'll leave estimates good for about a month. That's fairly standard. Sorry. Overtaken by the yawns here. So a month, I feel like a month is pretty standard. The likelihood of price fluctuations being really extreme within a month probably is not very good. So the prices will probably stay consistent. And in a month, usually there isn't a huge change in the animal's status. So like, let's say it's a growth removal. Usually within a month, it's not going to like triple in size, right? But if it's like 3 years later and they're like, oh, I have this estimate, that growth might be way huge now and need an entirely different surgical approach and might be a lot more expensive to remove. So we always want to have an expiry date for our estimates. So in this case though, I don't want Sarah Simons putting off fixing this nail for 30 days. I want to give her an estimate that's good for only 3 days. So down here where it says save estimate for, I'm just going to delete the 0 and I'm going to make it good for 3 days. And I can press tab and it'll correct the date here. Okay. But that's not the only step I need to do to change that estimate save time. So I need to go into this messages because you'll see on the estimate it's going to print and the message is going to print and look like this. This estimate is valid for 30 days. So even though you just changed the expiry date, it's going to say on the estimate it's good for 30 days. So we need to go in and change that. And the way to change that is, you might think, oh, well, what if I just click down here? Can't I just change this to 30? Nope, you can't. This is not the edit screen. You access the edit screen by sliding over here to note, and then it brings up what the note reads, and you can delete that number of days and put in the correct amount. Okay? And then you can press OK. And now you'll see it says this estimate is valid for 3 days. I can press OK, and I can press OK here, and now it'll save my estimate. So at this point, it would print the estimate. I'd be able to take the estimate into the room with Sarah and say, hi Sarah, so the doctor asked me to do a quick estimate for you to show you the charges for Pontiac. So we've got the comprehensive exam today with the doctor. The doctor's gonna do a nail trim. We're gonna clean up all those other nails, get those nice and short, and we're gonna trim off that broken nail. And then we're gonna need to put on a bandage. Sorry, I'm just gonna exit out of here and bring up our estimate. You might notice, oh my God, my estimate's not here, I'm panicking, where is it? Right click, refresh, okay? Always remember that. So you can see I've got the estimate here for broken nail repair. I'm just gonna double click on this. I'll press tab and it'll open up the estimate. So I'm going over it with the client. We've talked about exam and nail trim already. So I'll say after we've got those nails trimmed up, we're gonna put on a bandage. The doctor's not sure how big that bandage is going to be. We won't know till we start. So we're giving you a price range here. It could be as low as $20 or as high as $45. And then I did put on here an Elizabethan collar. That's one of, those party cones to keep the animal from licking. If you have one at home, we don't need to charge you for one today, but if you do need to take one home today, there would be a charge of $17. And then Sarah says, oh yeah, no, I don't have one of those. So I do want to take home an e-collar today. Okay, great. So is everything fine here? Are we okay to go ahead? She'll say yes, we can get it signed and move on. So now that I know that she's okay with all this stuff, I can finalize this estimate. Finalizing the estimate is going to move everything over to my patient visit list. The patient visit list, if you remember from yesterday, is the basically like the tracking sheet that keeps track of everything that's happening in the hospital for that patient today. So I'm going to press finalize. It'll bring up this save estimate screen again. And you'll see this time finalize estimate is checked. I can press OK. And you'll see now the estimate ID has an F beside it. That F means finalized. Once it's finalized, I can't go back in and edit any of these items. Okay. So it's just going to be, it's just there now. You're not able to edit. These special actions, for now, just hit continue. Just hit close. We're not going to do those today. We'll talk about those in day 3 section. Okay, so I can refresh just out of habit just to make sure everything is okay and good in here. So now I'm going to open up my patient visit list because the doctor has taken Pontiac to the treatment area, and with the technologists, the two of them have trimmed up those nails and put a bandage on, and Pontiac is ready to have the bill finalized for him. So I can open the patient visit list. I can make sure I have my correct patient selected, and I can press this patient visit list button. It'll show you the things that are on there. I can also just open the patient visit list up here. Sorry, I did not show you where that was because it didn't show up on my screen. So right here is the patient visit list. It's like a little folder with a dollar sign. I can also go activities, and where is it? Patient visit list. I can also do that to open it up. So I need to press tab, right, to open up my patient, and it shows me everything that's on my patient visit list. Oh hey, here's that bag of TD that I totally forgot about. I'm so glad I put it in that section while I was booking the appointment, because now I remember I need to get that food ready for her. Perfect. So I have the TD food on there. I've got the exam with the doctor. I have the nail trim. The bandage application right now is showing up the high end of the estimate. I double check with the doctor and they say, yeah, it took a lot of bandage material. Let's go ahead and charge the $45. So I'm going to leave that as $45 for now. And you can see the Elizabethan Collar is on here for $17. And I know that Sarah wants to take one home, so I'm going to leave that there as well. So I can say to the doctor, anything else we're adding in? And he says, actually, yeah, that nail looked like it was already kind of getting infected. So let's send home some antibiotics as well. So now I'm going to add an item to my patient visit list. So I can go to the next available line and I can click on it. I can press F2 or I can double click and it'll bring up my search field. And then I can search. So the doctor wants to send home amoxicillin. Whoops. So Amoxicillin, and he wants to send home 50 milligrams. So amoxicillin 50 milligram is what I'm selecting. And now I need to put in a quantity. So the doctor might tell me how many I need to do, or they might just have written it in the file as like a SIG, right? So the prescription in the file. So the file that the doctor has written is 1 BID X14D. So 1 BID means twice per day. So I'm giving 1 tablet twice per day, and then X14D is for 14 days. So I can do that math to calculate how many tablets I need to send home. So 1 BID means I'm using 1 tablet twice per day. So 2 tablets per day for 14 days. So I need to send home 28 tablets. So I can change that there and press 28, and I can tab over, and now that's in there. So I can process the prescription label right here in the patient visit list if I'd like. I could, you see, okay, so let's go over how to create the label for the amoxicillin. So this little RX in the blue here, it's like a mortar and pestle with RX in it. If we click on that, it'll bring up our prescription information. So we can enter all the instructions and everything in here, and then the system will generate a label for it. So we can double check that we have the right drug, amoxicillin 50, yep. We have 28 of them, yeah. There are no refills, so we'll leave refills at 0. The date provided, sure, that's today. And then the expiration date, you can, hold on. So we'll make it 20/23/10/31. So typically when we're looking at expiration dates of drugs, it'll have usually it's just the month and the year. So you can just assume the last day of that month. It is prescribed by, oh, well, this is coming up as Cornerstone. That's fine, we'll just leave it. It should be the doctor, whatever the, whoops, what was the doctor? I think it was Dr. Jones. And then our filled by is us. So we'll put the CS there. So now for the instructions. So the SIG reads 1 BID X14D. So you can, if you double click or press F2, it'll bring up a search for you here. So you could do 1 BID right here and select that, and it'll kind of autofill. So give blank tablets. So we would replace the blank with, oh, sorry, one tablet. You could delete that S. Give 1 tablet by mouth twice a day or every 12 hours for 14 days. So we can add that in. You could just skip this altogether and just type it in directly yourself. You can use the spell check to make sure you didn't make any spelling mistakes. That's a good idea if you change or check anything in there. I guess there's no mistakes. It's not coming up with any highlights or anything, so that's good. And now I can press OK. And then here, this is just asking you the print options. Again, I'm not going to bother printing because I'm not, I'm just at home. I don't have a file or a printer or anything hooked up to this laptop. Okay. All right, so now I can double check my PVL, my patient visit list, and make sure everything that happened for that patient is on here today. So we have our food that the client requested over the phone. We have the exam, the nail trim, the bandage, the e-collar, and the medication going home. So this looks pretty ready to me. If we weren't sure, let's say we needed to go check with a technologist about the bandage or something like that, we could press OK, and it would just save that patient visit list. And then later on, we can come back to it and see that it's in there. Hold on, let me just open it up again. And then later on, we can come back and everything that we put in is still here. When we are ready, when we know for sure everything on here looks exactly how we want it to, we can send this to an invoice. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Invoice. I press the invoice button to send this to the invoice. And now you can see that I have everything all set up here for billing for the client. So at this point, I would call Sarah over and I would say, you know, Sarah, I'm all ready to go here. I have everything ready for Pontiac. And then I'm going to go over the invoice with the client. Say, so I have that bag of food that you requested over the phone. I've got that all ready for you here. I've got the exam with the doctor. We did that nail trim and fixed up that broken nail. The doctor did apply a bandage. It did end up being the higher end, so it is $45. I have the e-collar set up and ready. Pontiac's actually wearing it already. And then since the nail was looking a little bit infected, like the doctor told you, so I do have a prescription going home. At that point, I would go over the instructions because I would have that vial ready. I'd put it up on the counter and say, you know, so this is amoxicillin, this is an antibiotic, you're going to give it every 12 hours for 14 days. Like, I go over that information with the client. And then once everything's all set up, I'll say, so our total for today is $131.87. So I can see that total. I can see it up here. I can see it, where are you? Over here. So I've got those totals for us, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead then and press post. Once I press post, I can't change anything on this invoice. So actually, before I press post, I'm going to say, Sarah Simon, is there anything else that you needed today? And she'll say, oh no, that's everything. Okay, great. So now I can press post. Again, these special actions, we're not going to do anything with those right now. So you can just hit close on that. Sorry, you can just hit continue on that. And then it brings up our post invoice window. So we can look and see it's giving you the warning. No other activity is going to be able to be entered on this invoice once it's posted. So be sure that everything that needs to be on there is on there and that it's correct before you hit OK. And it's asking you what things we would like to do when we're hitting post. So do we want to apply a payment? Typically, yes. Usually we're posting the invoice because we're collecting payment at the same time. Do we want to print the invoice in the hospital? Yes, I'm going to unclick it just because, again, I don't have a printer here. But in the hospital, we definitely want to send the invoice home. And do we want to check out the patient? Yes, because when we are sending this, posting this invoice, we are sending the pet home. So we can check them out. So I'll hit OK. My cashier password is CS Cornerstone, and I can press tab. So I say, okay, Sarah, your total is $131.87. How would you like to pay today? So she says, I have $50 cash, and can the rest be on Visa? So I say, sure, no problem. So here's how we can do a split payment. So yesterday we just paid the item in full. Today we're doing a split payment. So I can put in $50 for my amount. Tab to get to the next thing. Tab is your friend in Cornerstone. What did I say it was? Oh, $50 cash. And then I can just tab over. And then I need to collect the remainder of the payment. So you don't have to bother getting out your calculator because if you look right here, it shows you the total is $131.87. New payments, $50. Balance remaining, $81.87. So I can put $81.87. And she told me she has a Visa card. Oops. So I see how I tried to click there and it didn't drop down. I need to press tab. So again, tab is your friend. So she said she has a Visa, so I went ahead and clicked Visa, and then I tabbed through. I can double check and make sure I entered everything okay. This balance after payment should be $0. Especially, I know sometimes people deal with like dyslexia, or sometimes it's just busy in the clinic and you're kind of distracted. Always double check your balance after payment because it is easy to transpose numbers and put in like 131.78 instead of 87, and then you've got a balance remaining. So make sure you're double checking that this balance after payment is 0. And then if I'm happy with that, which I am, I can press post. And so now that payment has been applied to her account. And look, I've got a check-in alert because now that I'm checking out the patient by posting this invoice, I'm getting that alert that shows up. Oh yeah, Pontiac borrowed a red leash. So now I can take the opportunity to say, oh, hey, Sarah Simon, once you get Pontiac out to the car, do you mind just bringing that red leash back in? And she'll say, no problem. So I can press close on that. I'm going to close out this patient visit list. I'm going to refresh my screen, and now it'll update everything, okay? So you can see here, patient visit list is empty now, right? Estimate, we just have our finalized estimate in there. If we come over to the patient side, I can look under this $sign, and I can see that we have an invoice for $131.87, and I can see that I have 2 payments. If I need to revisit this invoice to see what was on it, I can double click and it'll open it up, but I can't make any changes for this invoice, okay? If this was an unpaid invoice, I could collect a payment. Over here, there's the payment screen. So I could put a payment through. I'm not going to though, because I already did. So I can just press, over here, cancel, and then that takes me out of there. All right, so that shows us how everything went through there. Now, if I want to make sure that this guy's checked out, I can look under this check-in screen. This patient is not currently checked into the hospital. I can also press F3, which brings up my census list, and you'll see that Pontiac's no longer in there, so not checked in. If I look at my, I'm going up to the window, and I'm pressing onto my schedule for today. If I hover on the appointment, you'll see now it says, it doesn't say checked in anymore. It doesn't say anything, right? So I know that this animal's not in the hospital anymore. Okay, now, after Sarah left the building, I put the $50 bill into my cash register, and I take the Visa slip and I go to put it in with my Visa slips, where I notice that it does not say Visa on it. Darn it, Sarah Simons, you told me you have a Visa card, but this says it's an Amex slip. That's not great. So now I need to fix that, okay? So I'll show you how to fix, if you notice that you made a mistake right away, it's best to fix it immediately, because then whoever's doing cash out later, if it's you or if it's someone else, whatever, this mistake is already corrected and they don't need to try to find that mistake. So if you notice an error right away, try to get it fixed immediately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refund this Visa, okay? So can I just do an adjustment? I can't remember. No, I can't. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click in this transaction section, and I'm going to hit payment. I can put in my CS, and I want to put in a negative amount of this Visa. So negative 81.87. And then press tab, and that's the Visa. So I'm now returning the Visa, okay? So the balance after payment is 81.87. That means we still have to pay 81.87, and that's exactly what we want to do. We want to pay that, put that through on the Amex. So I can do that right now on the same screen. 81.87 is the is the payment that we're making, and it is on, Amex is right at the top, tab. And now my balance after payment is 0, okay? So we paid 81.85. We are returning, so negative 81.87 for the Visa, and now we're putting it through correctly, 81.87 on American Express. I can hit post. I'm not going to bother printing it. And then I'm going to right click in this client area and press refresh to make sure everything's the most up to date. And now you can see we have our invoice for $131.87. The payment of cash, the payment of Visa, the return of the Visa, and the payment for American Express. Okay, and now you'll see that our balance here is 0, which is what we want to see if we did it correctly. Okay, so that's how we correct that error. Now, Sarah Simons walks back in the building to return the leash. And she says, thanks so much for letting me use the leash. Hey, I'm actually bringing in another pet tomorrow. can I leave a payment? Because I'm not going to be the one picking them up, and I'm splitting the cost with, you know, my friend or my boyfriend or something. So let's, I'm going to make a payment if that's okay and leave it on the account. Absolutely, we can do that. So sometimes people want to do that. They want to leave payments so that there's a credit on the account. Maybe they have like a big surgery coming up or something, and it's their way of like socking away the money or like saving it up for it. Also, sometimes, I think this is really cute actually. Sometimes at Christmas time, you have like, let's say a parent coming in that wants to leave a payment on their child's like account so that they have a credit for the new year or whatever. I think that's always really sweet. So we're going to do a payment in a similar way. We're going to right click in the payments area here and we're going to press payment. Cashier CS. She wants to leave $150. Whoa. Make sure you're double checking your decimals. Don't do like me there. I just put 15,000. And then payment type, she tells me she has a MasterCard. Since I know she was a little bit confused last time, I double check and it is in fact a MasterCard. So I'm selecting MasterCard there and I can tab over. So this is one occasion where I do want to see, a negative balance after payments because that means that the client has a credit on their account. So in this situation, they're paying money, but it's not linked with any specific invoice. So we are leaving a credit here. So it should be -150. And then I can press post. In the hospital, I would print it, but I'm not going to here. And now I can see that she has a credit on her account of $150. Okay. So that is everything that we're completing for day 2. So now you can head out and do the practice activity for day 2. So basically the exact same tasks that we just did, you'll do again with just like a new client and a new situation. So give those a try, see how it goes. If you do have questions or issues of any kind, make sure that you're asking in the chat in the virtual classroom, or you can reach out via email. Okay, thanks so much for listening and good luck.